Let's dig into all of this now with Polygon's Ross Freshtick.
Easy for you to say.
Lightshed's Brandon Ross and our very own Steve Kovac. Welcome to all of you. So, Russ, big deal for GTA. I mean, I think we should start there because on a company basis, you know, the Apple setback is really almost more of a non-video game story. It's just it was a video game company that kind of pushed them to this point. The delay of GTA 6, this was supposed to be, what, $1 billion game this fall?
Yeah, it's an enormous release. Take-Two has been relying on this for years and years, but all of these companies have been putting out these games. Cyberpunk a few years ago, this massive game, hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, came out and was a disaster. So what they can have happen is the first 2 months of the game's life cycle being, oh, this game's actually broken. That's a huge disaster.
Do you think there was a risk it would be broken?
I think there is no chance that any company wants to take with that amount of money where they release their thing and it's a mess.
And it's just not ready. Why do you think it might not be ready? I mean, I understand that these things, in order to make them, are like those animated films where they spend 7 years rendering or something,
yes.
But what's going on behind the scenes?
All video game development happens very, very late in the process, up until the very last minute, and one tiny number somewhere in the code can screw the whole thing up. So it is incredibly risky. You don't always know until the servers get turned on that everything's going to work great. So it's incredibly scary for them. I get it, and they want to make sure they get it right.
Sounds like TV news. Brandon Ross, here, a lot of our viewers and listeners are watching this right now, and they're going, oh, well, that's interesting, but I don't really care about video game news. Let's be clear. This ruling, this court ruling, while brought forth by a video game company, is completely bigger than anything related to just video games. Is it not?
Yeah, it transcends video games to everything that monetizes through in-app purchase or subscription in the App Store. And you've seen already a flurry of apps or app developers working on putting brand new applications in the App Store that get around the Apple tax. The first major one that came out was Spotify, where now they will tell you what the prices are for various subscription plans and allow you to link out to purchase it through the web and avoid the Apple tax. And it's going to be a pretty seamless process using Stripe or others.
Steve, how many more do you expect to, maybe we're going to see new entrants come to the iOS platform? Maybe we're going to see new games, new app options of all kinds now that if they're allowed to do so, these developers feel like they can keep much more of their profit.
Yeah, Kelly, this is something I brought up in our conversation with Tim Sweeney last hour on your show, and basically asking him, you know, these smaller developers, these more independent shops, do you envision that happening? Because you think just having Epic Games do this in one spot, Spotify do it, some of these bigger players do it, yes, that'll hurt Apple a little bit. But if collectively we see all these smaller developers suddenly say, hey, we're sick of paying these fees to Apple, to the App Store, and instead we're going to take advantage of, you know, well, let's call up Stripe, for example, and have them help us out with their payment system instead, get a better cut, get a better rate of that. And that's when it really starts to impact Apple, Kelly, is when more and more of the smaller developers, and I know we're saying, hey, yes, a gaming company brought this forward, but it's a bunch of different apps. But keep in mind, guys, that gaming is the most lucrative part of the App Store. There's a reason why when you open up your App Store app, and at the bottom tab, there's a tab just for games. That's because Apple knows that's where the most money is. That's what people are spending on, whether it's transactions within Roblox or transactions within, soon again, Fortnite, et cetera. They get to take a rake off of all of that. And that is why gaming is the thrust of this pushback against Apple, guys.
So, Russ, I'm looking at the most popular iPhone. And I know you're sort of the video game specialist, but you get my point on this.
Sure.
The most popular apps right now in the App Store, in order: TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Tinder.
Yeah.
Okay? Those are old. There's nothing new here.
Yeah.
Some of the games they push, I get it, are kind of new. How relevant to video game developers or other companies do you think the App Store actually is right now, given that old, well-known apps are leading everything every day?
I mean, it's incredibly important for smaller developers. You are still seeing releases there, especially on their Apple Arcade, which is a subscription service that they have. But I would say, broadly speaking, outside of the apps that you mentioned, which are obviously media apps, you're seeing mostly these big players that have been around forever, Clash of Clans, things like that, are games that have been at the top of the played list forever and just live there. And they rake in those monetization money. So, yeah, it's a huge impact on Apple's bottom line, on these companies' bottom line. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these companies introduced, similar to Epic, introduce their own payment model and get that 30% back.
Yeah, I mean, which goes back to Grand Theft Auto. Speaking of franchises that have been around forever, Steve, we've gone back and forth on this news over the years as they've pushed it back time and again. What do you make of the latest announcement?
Well, there goes my plans for the fall to spend all the back half of the year playing Grand Theft Auto 6. But look, really, this is to their point earlier, is these games take a long time to develop, and there's a human toll that goes into it, too. It's called crunch, where, like we were just saying, you build it up to the last minute, get everything polished and ready to go out the door. And they're really, Rockstar has actually kind of a bad reputation. Rockstar is the division of Take-Two that makes Grand Theft Auto. They have a kind of bad reputation for really pushing their workers to get these, meet these deadlines and get the games out the door when it's just not possible on a human toll to do. So it is kind of good to see that they're realizing that they're going to let a little more time breathe instead of paying attention necessarily to what Wall Street wants to see. Let's get this game right. Let's make sure our workers aren't being overworked to get this game in the way we want it to do. And again, to the point earlier, if they release a broken game or partially broken game, that is a really bad precedent to set and can hurt things quite badly for Take-Two Interactive.
No, absolutely. It's, you know, it's like a movie release. You have to get everything just right. Russ, quickly before we go, Microsoft is now raising prices for Xbox. You said Nintendo kind of paved the way for doing this. So inflation is really coming to the video game world, it seems.
Yeah, it's funny because back in the mid-90s, there were video games sold for $80, and they kind of go in these waves. I think you're right. Inflation is part of it. I also think it's just the market's going to tell them what they can do. If people are going out and buying $80 games, great. But I think a lot of the games aren't worth $80. So you'll see these top-tier titles, the GTAs of the world, will be at $80. Maybe a smaller title, new IP, something like that, might be at 60, might be at 50 even. So I think there will be a range, and the market's just going to tell them what they want.
It's weird that they were charging more per game in the 90s than they
I know.
do today.
It's very bizarre the way the sales have gone over the years.
Yeah, but that's just, I guess, what the consumer is comfortable with.
Yeah.